I'm Gene Grant, back at the table with this week's Line Opinion panelist. Another new development in the wake of the spill in the Animas River is legislation introduced by Senator Martin Heinrich to reform how the federal government approaches the cleanup of these abandoned mines. And Lieutenant Governor, abandoned mines have been a concern in New Mexico and all over the U.S., western U.S. for a lot of years here. And one of the things that I cannot figure out how we have not been able to get our arms around that late 1800s, 1873 ruling, whatever it is, that basically lets owners of mining companies skate whenever these things sort of happen. That's a long time ago. Why do you think we've never been able to get our arms around that and get legislation changed on that?
Because it's, for the most part, it's a very profitable industry.
Yeah.
Very powerful people involved. It's part of the industrial nature of the country.
Right.
Actually, I just want to say my son is a fly fishing guide in northwestern New Mexico on the Animas.
Yeah.
He has not missed a day of work.
Oh, interesting.
No one has canceled their trip. I called him. I thought he was probably out of work.
Right.
But he said it's not really like they're, you know, when you see the aerials, it's different than when you see the land.
Right.
But he also said the conversation in Durango and around those small communities is, what about the accountability of the mine owners?
Right. Right.
This mine has been leaking 176 gallons a minute or something for years and years. This one spill is equal to a, excuse me, a year's damage.
Right.
So the EPA, which is getting all the heat, and maybe didn't respond quite correctly at the beginning, but the EPA is not really the reason the mine is leaking. They were trying to be up there and clean it up without the okay of the Superfund site and without the, you know, the mine owner doing their job. And so it's really interesting how the dynamics have played out about going after the EPA. Personally, I don't think New Mexico going after the EPA is the best use of our resources.
Sure.
But
yeah, the governor was tough on it right off the bat. Yeah, absolutely. Harry, interesting. The Lieutenant Governor brought up an interesting point, and that is communities don't want that designation of a Superfund site.
Right.
But then on the other hand, they want the stuff cleaned up sort of quietly in the middle of the night somehow, and we'll have our backs turned. Where do we all fit in on this? It seems like there's a very complicated decision wheel here. Federal government, local citizens, in local municipalities. How do we all come together and make this
It's
thing
really
work?
challenging because there are, as you point out, multiple jurisdictions that are involved, and there is resistance to being classified as a Superfund site. It's almost like a scarlet letter. And yet, there's no institutional structure that's really in place to do this sort of cleanup. So this is where there's really got to be a need for cooperation across different levels of government. But it really does seem, as Lieutenant Governor pointed out, that dynamic right now is broken, given that the state wants to go after the EPA.
Staying with you on that and the EPA, where do you think the EPA comes down on this? They've taken their heat for this. They're trying to do the best they can. But where was the fault, as if you might see it, in their response?
Well, I think the fault was in the quality of the response afterwards. Obviously, you shouldn't leak 3 million gallons of toxic material.
Right.
But if you're the EPA and you're trying to tell companies, for example, that they need to be transparent, then you've got to be transparent as well. And part of the political dynamic is you've got a lot of folks who are not very happy with the EPA, saying issues related to global warming, saying, see, you can't trust the EPA because they screwed this up.
Right. By the way, I was a year off. It was 1872. I apologize, not 1873. Still a long time ago, Sophie Martin. What do you think Mr. Heinrich's legislation could lead? Is this the moment? Do we have a moment to capture here with this?
What I sense is that it's not a complete solution. It is a very small step. The political environment is such, and Harry just touched on this, that I think it is going to be difficult to get new regulation in. But when is it not difficult to get new regulation in on the mining industries? You know, they're already out there saying jobs, 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 and you're going to hurt our industry. And the truth of the matter is they've been allowed to skate since, as you said, the 1800s. There was a time when our country believed that we had a priority above almost all others to open the West, to get that mining going, et cetera. There was very little concern about the environmental impacts. We know better now. And
can a politician win on this as a stump item? You know, I'm going to clean up the mines in our state. I never hear anybody talk about this on the campaign
Well,
trail.
I mean, I'm not sure that on the local level that's, you know, on the state level that's doable, but you know, it's a very complicated dynamic out here in the West because in large part because we've got people who want to have clean living spaces. We also have people who want to have jobs, and we have some very deep pockets.
That's right.
And so this is the sort of thing that leads to the kind of, you know, I'm going to take care of our extractive industries at the same time that I'm trying to, I'm not necessarily referring to Martin Heinrich in this, but you know, this sort of almost schizophrenic approach to these particular issues. Could it be done? Heck yeah. Somebody could do it, but it hasn't been done yet.
Speaking of, on the House side, we have a bill proposing an 8% royalty on new mines to be put into a kitty to use as a cleanup fund. And already the industry is saying, now wait a minute, we want to cooperate here, but 8% makes us uncompetitive on the international scale. Should that be a concern of the local people who can't swim or fish or whatever in their rivers? Is that a decent idea as it hits you?
Well, I mean, first off, we represent interests in the mining industry. My thoughts are my own. I think that, you know, what is happening now is therapeutic. You have situations which occurred in, you know, the 1920s, and then you have mines that are in operation today, and new mines. The new mines that open up today are already under so much more regulation than those that were in place in the 1920s or the 1870s. And so it's really, you know, we're punishing the existing mines for the sins of other mines and other mining operations. And so, you know, I know the governor has something to say about this. But, you know, you know, when you look at the mandates that are brought down by the Environmental Protection Agency, by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, by the Federal Railroad Administration, they say, we have this great idea for you, implement it, and it's going to cost you millions and millions of dollars. It's those kinds of decisions sometimes are very well intentioned, but made completely out of touch of what impacts small businesses and small communities.
Well, speaking of small communities, the governor has had intentionally rolled back mining and water quality regulations in southern New Mexico for the copper mining industry. That has been happening for the last 2 or 3 years, and this may be her way of trying to say, I really do want to protect our water. But I tell you, if you talk to people in small communities that depend on tourism and water in Hillsborough and places like in southern New Mexico, they don't believe that protecting water quality and by way of the mining industry is happening in New Mexico.
Well, and the copper rule is a whole other conversation. And, you know, because I believe that, you know, you had multiple sides who came together to, you know, really
But somebody had to be the honest third broker to get all those people to the table, though. That's an interesting thing. Less than 30 seconds, Harry Van Buren, I want back on this 8% royalty tax. To pay for the sins of your brethren in the, mining business. Should it just be just for the new mines, or is that unfair to ask these folks to pay for other sins?
Well, if I were given the choice between paying for something and getting it for free, I probably would choose getting it for free. So this is a public resource, and whatever the rationale is, whether it is paying for a public resource or cleaning up a legacy problem, I think that's less relevant rather than whether this is good policy, and I just think that's good policy.
Let me have you touch on that real quick, Sophie. Just
I'm not sure I have anything to add. Actually, I totally agree with what Harry had to say. You know, at the same time that the mining industry now says these are old mines that we're dealing with, you stand on the backs of the old mines, and you are using our natural resources.
A lot of them are splits from other mining operations.
You're making a phenomenal profit, so come on.
There you go. Up next, we learn what financial experts say young people can do to manage their finances well through college and beyond.